The construction of space in the Russian historical avant-garde of the Twenties. Scenography as the backstage of space design theory in the early Russian avant-garde. The following video originated from my PhD dissertation at the Architecture Institute of University of Venice. The scenography for Le Coucou Magnifique by Popova, designed while she was teaching the discipline color at VХУТЕМАС, can be compared in terms of special research issues with the suprematistic scenography Victory Over the Sun by Malevich, the constructivist scenography The Man Who Was Thursday by Vesnin, and its architectural translation The Palace of Labor. The echo of these space design experiments can be found in the theoretical framework of the Concentre, Volume and Space by VХУTEMAS. The events of 1917 not only changed world politics forever, but also the course of art. In the years of avant-garde, some Russian artists, driven by the revolutionary pathos, examined how they could contribute to daily life through design, architecture, industrial production, theater, and cinema. The protagonists of the avant-garde sought new ways of building a new world. While the avant-garde painters dissected objects and parts of the body and saw them together again with new meanings, the sound writers cut the syntactic semantic connection of text and split the words into minimal pieces, syllables or letters, enhancing them in their inner phonic values, and then recomposing them in unimaginable combinations of the so-called transmental language. This process refers to the cubist technique called Zvik, which consists of the displacement of pictorial elements and plans. From 1916, Popova, one of the first female pioneers in cubofuturism, realized painterly architectonics, 6 compositions that are expression of materialized energy, in which the power of color becomes texture, and so it aspires to be three-dimensional. According to Bode, Popova tried to achieve the transition from composition to construction, from surface to space. She realized this purpose in her stage design for Le Coucou Magnifique, produced by Meyerhold. The director invited her in 1921 to teach material stage design at his Higher State Theatre workshop in Moscow. Popova transformed the wooden mill, the location of the play, into an intricate wooden structure made of moving platforms, revolving doors, windows, ladders, scaffolding, wheels, turning clockwise and counterclockwise according to the stage action. This was the best acting apparatus where to show Meyerhold's biomechanics, a gym for actors who wore the prosodiezda, that is the blue production clothing designed by Popova. She built a real special architecture that could be analyzed by identifying several different levels, modulated on the Russian measures of the arching and the Sagen. The arching measures about 71 centimeters, and the Sagen measures about 2 meters, so free arching. This analysis reminds us of the literal and phenomenal transparency theorized by Rowe and Slazy. Vertical, horizontal, diagonal lines are placed on different layers, composing a complex three-dimensional grid, and Popova saturated it by placing surfaces in strategic spots. Focal points: 2 black doors, 3 yellow walls, and a large black circle, like a gear, which Kovalenko describes as a clock. Essentially, it was a spatial formula whose components, as well as their interaction and correlation, were abstracted and reduced to a minimal level of expression. The functional quality of the construction is said to have resembled a clock whose exterior coverings have fallen away, only the most important components remaining. To then remove or change anything would mean the system's collapse. Popova did not paint a theatrical background at all. She designed a construction for the action, considered as the beginning of the Russian constructivism theater. It was very lucky for VХУТЕМАС that the best artists of the time were there. Popova was one of the most active organizers of the school introductory course, the basic department of painting faculty, from September 1920. Vesnin was a professor from 1921 to 1930 at the Moscow VХУТЕМАS. Color discipline by Popova and Vesnin examined its qualities and focused on its inner energy and texture. Malevich, the leader of suprematism, joined the teaching staff of VХУTEMAS in 1925. During the winter of 1916-1917, Popova belonged to Malevich's circle. Significant attention was paid to the principles of building pictorial space. Alfred Barr, in his catalogue of 1936, Cubism and Abstract Art, called Popova the most brilliant of Malevich's circle. The suprematistic set designed by Malevich for victory over his son may have somehow anticipated the special research expressed by the constructivist stages for Le Coucou Magnifique by Popova and The Man Who Was Thursday by Vesnin, of which the Palace of Labor is its architectural translation. The space design research undertaken by Malevich, exemplified by the sketches for the sound play Victory Over the Sun, is related to the musical and literary experimentations by his friends, the painter-violinist Matyushin and the poet Krushonik. Words and music follow the flow of paintings, freeing the creative act from unnecessary weights. The protagonists of this first Cubo-Futurist show are supermen who kill the sun and reach the new world. Malevich sketches 6 three-dimensional scenic boxes, which allude to a pyramid trunk or to a cube seen central perspective. All his sketches refer to the square and are drawn on a square. The observer is ideally closed inside a white cube that is composed of 5 squares in depth, and the 6th square is hypothetically placed behind him. In all the white stage boxes, many dark shapes dance freely. The static nature of the square contains the dynamism of the story. Random black objects of incongruous dimensions, proportions, and semantic fields, torn from their reality, invade the cubes and confuse the viewer. The clash of these objects leads us to the new world beyond reason, the 10 lands. The 6th scene's stage box is represented with a perspective and axonometric drawing at the same time. It represents, through a collage of fragments, a larger cubo-futurist building, house, city. In this world upside down, a topos of Russian futurism, the man is freed from any physical and psychological burden. Laws, social conventions, hierarchies are abolished. Spatial and temporal coordinates are disrupted. Logical causal connections and grammatical rules are no longer applied. The Palace of Labor, designed by the Vesnin brothers in 1922-23, is chosen as the case study about the construction of the architectural and urban space. The building was among the most important ones for the Moscow Tverskaya. It could be seen as the transcription, on an architectural scale, of the Scenography by Vesnin himself for the comedy The Man Who Was Thursday by Chesterton, directed by Chekhov in 1923. The dissection of the architectural object through the construction of the model reveals a revolutionary speciality. Vertical pillars, stairs, elevators, mechanical objects, pylons, and flagpoles generate a complex network of relationships, a three-dimensional grid, not so far from the constructive stages designed by himself or by Popova in the 20s. So this huge Palace of Labor of the Vesnin brothers could be deprived of its volumetric covering in order to show itself as a real theatrical machine, with its vertical, horizontal, and diagonal components. It's a scenography on a urban scale, serving large masses of people in movement. A space pierced by pillars, pylons, elevators, stairs, and flagpoles that rise towards the sky, like mass ships ready to take the flight. At the same time, between 1920 and 1930, the theory of spatial construction was experienced at VHUTEMAS. VHUTEMAS included more concentric thematic areas, among which surface and color, and volume and space. The spatial concentric was directed by Alpatowski. The essence of the course consists of examining how space is defined and transformed by superposition, contraction, expansion, extension, widening, lengthening, etc. The course, elaborated by Krinsky, Lamsov, Turkus, and collaborators, was published with the title Elements of the Architectural Spatial Composition in 1934. The manual is a selection of spatial construction theories conducted in the previous decade within the space workshop of the VHUTEMAS. The exercise proposed from 1923 and reported at the end of the volume concerned frontal and volumetrical composition, mass and weight, rhythm in space, and, more of all, composition of deep space. Thus, the student revealed the depth of a given space, its relationship to the main form, and the relationship of that form to surrounding space and forms, using all the tools for highlighting the qualities of the form. The scope of the application ranges from a composition of a single object to that of perceptive scenarios on a grand scale, up to the city. So, what idea of space do we get from these works? Cubism, Futurism, and Constructivism revolutionized the ordinary idea of space. The space becomes dynamic, fluid, visible from all directions, and could be described as a narrative sequence of levels and focal points. Malevich upside-down world is a space in which we can get lost, as in Alice in Wonderland, where the irrational breaks into everyday life and where the industrial world of technology and machines merges with the dreamlike, circus, unpredictable universe of childhood and myths, and lead us to that limbo, an indefinite place where art is born, as Emerani said. The other dimension is perceivable only through another type of knowledge, a space-time break widely open towards a new world. In the constructivist theater of Popov and Vesnin, every fundamental element of space construction is exposed, as well as in the Meyerhold biomechanics. Every single movement of the actor is carefully made. This is a space to be traveled in every direction, a space that requires the simultaneity of multiple visions and scales, a transparent, layered, permeable space in which objects are placed inside. The attention to the object itself in art and theatre is analogous to the attention to the value and the sound of the word itself in Russian Cube-Futurism literature or Zaum. Phrases to compose new languages, fragments to create new words. Language is the meaning frozen in words, such as energy is frozen in forms.